I figured as advertising for covering the debate next Tuesday, there's a lot of discussion to be had. Like, what's the strategy got to be for it?
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you guys think first? I have strong opinions here, but I want to listen first. What do you guys think?
I mean, my big thought, first of all, unless we get a surprise third debate, second presidential debate, second debate between Trump and Kamala, third overall for president, this is looking like it's going to be the last debate of the cycle. It's going to be this, and then a month, and we vote. And that gives it much higher stakes. Usually, usually we have, the standard was 3 presidential, 1 vice presidential. It was just sort of slotted in there. The diehards watch it, and it's quickly forgotten. I can't really remember the most famous moment from any of the last few Veep debates, but this is kind of the last pitch that they can make to like a big audience where everyone's watching. And I think there's also been a lot of attention on the vice presidential nominees relative to some prior years. Like, I don't think Pence got that much attention in 2016. Kamala wasn't getting as much attention as Biden himself in 2020. But this time, both sides have really hit the opposing faction, and there's a big difference in style between them. Like, you have Vance has came from a town much like Springfield, Ohio, goes to Yale, has kind of this class traitor element to him, because, he was allowed into the elite, but now he's turned and become critical of elites. And then Walz, we have, the whole conservatism in drag sort of thing that he presents, where he's this folksy guy from the Midwest who just wants to do what's right, gosh darn it. And we're not gonna support all those, rich coastal elite Ivy Leaguer folk. And so there's a big contrast between them. And I guess I do wonder, how does Vance come out of that clash successfully? Because on the one hand, Walz is a more experienced politician. He has more practiced at that folksy appeal. On the other hand, Vance has definitely been the one who's done the most media in the last 2 months, going against reporters, doing tons of interviews. So he's certainly like the most practiced of any of the politicians right now, and I'd hope that pays some dividends.
What are your thoughts, guys? It seems as if this is going to be a continuation of the Trump-Kamala debate. Also, this is the last debate that we're going to have between these two camps. Jack, you first.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot here. Now, one thing that I think strategy-wise that I would say for J.D. Vance, he's introduced himself to the country a number of times, because obviously his book came out that just took off, when it was first released in 2016, 2017, sold millions of copies. It continues to sell millions of copies, by the way. Then the movie came out on Netflix in 2020 that obviously actually did very well. I'm not gonna say obviously because Netflix doesn't always release their numbers, and they certainly have kept this under wraps. But I've had people tell me that it's been one of the best performing videos on all of Netflix for one of their independently produced productions. And again, you've got Glenn Close, you've got Amy Adams playing his mother. But one of the issues that J.D. Vance has, even with the enormous success of Hillbilly Elegy, is that people don't always necessarily associate him with the movie, because the movie so solely focuses, not solely, but so centrally focuses on the mother and grandmother, that people don't realize, oh, wait, that's J.D. Vance's family. So if there's anything he needs to do in terms of introducing himself, is just remind people that, and he's been doing this on the stump over and over, by the way, remind people that is me, that is my family, that family that you remember from that movie, that is us. And that was a story that I put out. That's number one. Number two, politically, so that's on the personality side. Politically speaking, which I think will cover up a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of Tim Walz being able to try to come across as folksy. And he does, by the way. He comes across like, a high school football coach, and even though he was never a league coach. And then when it comes to the actual politics of it, I think, and you've seen him do this in media again and again, you've seen him do this in these, I love these sort of like it's like a mini town hall / rally / press conference that JD Vance has done these hybrid events, which are fantastic, where he's taking interview questions from media, but he's also talking to just like regular people, and he's got a crowd there of supporters. So whenever he's, jousting with the mainstream media, they come back on him, and people are laughing and taking his side, and it works really, really well, and the clips do well because it looks like a fun atmosphere. He keeps it positive, but he always focuses on Kamala Harris. He doesn't talk about Tim Walz. He doesn't get into the personal stuff about Tim Walz. He can if he has to. I'm sure, by the way, that Tim Walz is going to be doing the same thing. He's going to make it about Donald Trump. And so you've got to make sure to maintain that focus on Kamala Harris, that she's the candidate. She's also the incumbent, by the way. And we've seen this huge push from Kamala's camp right now to try to paint Trump in a way as the incumbent, seeing as he's the former president, whereas to say that she's not part of the Biden administration. Well, she is, as a matter of fact, and she's the only, as far as we know, the only cogent non-senile member of the Biden administration, as far as we know, the senior ranking one. Fair enough, even though we've got Joe Biden running cabinet meetings. So, you've got to keep it on her. But one of the main things that he can do to really bait Tim Walz is that Tim Walz has a tendency, even though he is a more polished politician, he has a big tendency to get hot under the collar. And we've seen this again and again in these local videos from Minnesota. Go back to some of the videos during COVID. Whenever he's challenged on something that he's done or challenged on something that he said, he gets very, very upset about this. And so I think there's opportunities for JD Vance to bait Tim Walz the way that Kamala kept trying to bait Donald Trump in the first debate.
So I have two thoughts here. The first of which is that, and I agree with everything you guys said, JD Vance should completely ignore Tim Walz largely. He should say, continually make it about Kamala Harris and make it about the agenda. Tim Walz is a buffoon, and people know that, and they'll see that. But Kamala Harris is far less popular than Tim Walz. And this debate is not going to be about bringing down Tim Walz's favorables. People are voting for the president right now. That's the way it is.
Anyone who was going to vote against Kamala because they're mad about Walz's guard service probably already knows about it.
Correct. So at this point, we tried to set that in. The media didn't take it. This is about Trump and Harris. That's all people are thinking about. So then, in my opinion, JD Vance should do the following. He should keep on saying, well, Governor Walz, your boss. Refer to Kamala Harris as his boss. And saying, well, your boss wants to ban fracking. Keep on attacking so that Tim Walz has to defend Kamala Harris the entire time and not have to, defend whatever weird record. Now, you could pepper in, tampons and boys' bathrooms and blah, 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 blah. But framing her as his boss is very emasculating, will help with men voters because Tim Walz will not know what to do with that, and basically make all the points that we wished would have been said in the first debate right in and there. Why isn't your boss fixed it yet? What is your boss doing right now, Tim Walz? Why doesn't she go tell the IRS she won't go after tax on tips right now? Why are you guys not settling the peace deal or doing a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine? What is your boss doing right now to bring down inflation? One after the other. Make him have to carry the water for her. That's my thoughts.
I love that.
I think that's very strong.
That's
Strong.
the advice I gave JD.
It's good advice. It's good advice, and I hope he takes it.